Welcome back to Fox 5 on the Hill Live this Sunday morning. The latest presidential poll average from Real Clear Politics in Virginia shows that Vice President Kamala Harris is up 4 points compared to former President Donald Trump. Now, when Joe Biden was the candidate, Trump was leading in Virginia, according to that poll average. I want to welcome back in Rich Anderson. He's the chair of Virginia's Republican Party. Rich, good to see you this morning. So walk me through this. When Joe Biden was the candidate, Donald Trump and the Republicans were doing pretty well in Virginia. It was a state Biden had won by 10 points. Donald Trump had tied it. When you lost Joe Biden as your opponent, did you lose your momentum?
Well, I think that the Democrats came off of a convention, off of a major network interview, some 30-plus days after Harris had the nomination. And so I do believe that what we have to do is we have to let polls stabilize, and we'll see that probably happen very soon because we're about to pass that line of demarcation, Labor Day, where we're in the final sprint to November 5th, the general election. So the polls here in Virginia are still within margin of error, and the intensity of the contest on both sides will just ramp up from here on out. And so in the coming days, we'll have a better assessment of exactly where momentum is going for either candidate.
Rich, are you still calling Virginia a toss-up, though?
I am. And that's not just happy political talk from the state party chair. That is what I believe based on what I see on the ground. If you look back, for instance, to 2016 and 2020, this is a much better place for us to be. And we will watch this play out. But I can tell you, we will work this hard. Republicans will all across the Commonwealth of Virginia and leave nothing on the field.
One thing we had heard even when Joe Biden was running, that even if Biden were able to kind of eke out a victory in Virginia, but that the mere fact that Republicans were making Democrats have to pay attention to Virginia and spend money in Virginia was a win-win for Republicans anyway. Is that still the goal, to get Virginians to still have to fight for the vote there? Or do you feel at this point that it's already been mission accomplished because of the fact that Democrats did have to take, 6 weeks in the middle of the summer and spend more resources in Virginia than they had planned?
Right. Well, they spent immense resources here, but in response, President Trump's 2024 campaign team has spent enormous resources here. We have 19 Trump campaign offices located regionally around the state with dozens and dozens of full-time staffers. We are in the process of recruiting 5,000 plus election day workers. And by election day, I mean election month, because we start early voting here in Virginia on September 20th, which is 45 days before election day, which of course is November the 5th. And we also have recruited 500 lawyers, attorneys who are steeped in election law, who will man those polling locations in our most targeted areas of Virginia. So I am feeling very good about this. The Trump campaign has invested immensely here in stark contrast to what happened to 2020. So as a state party chair, I'm very happy with that.
Rich, I got to ask you, Virginia wound up in the headlines this past week, obviously, because of this widely reported incident at Arlington National Cemetery in which some members of the Trump campaign apparently were involved in an altercation with a staff member at Arlington. There are a lot of veterans in the Commonwealth of Virginia who not only, serve actively, but also have chosen Virginia to retire. What, moving forward, do you think this will affect on how veterans view the Trump campaign?
Well, I speak not only as state party chairman, but I speak as someone who wore an Air Force uniform, retired from the Pentagon after 8 years in that building as a senior officer. And I can tell you there is particular devotion by the vast majority of veterans to President Trump and the principles that he exemplifies: a secure border, a strong military, international respect, those sorts of things that are very important to veterans. He was a very veteran-friendly president. We have seen him in action, and it's in stark contrast to this calamitous withdrawal from Afghanistan in the early days of the Biden administration and by Ms. Harris's own administration. Commission. She was the last person in the room, so she certainly owns those misjudgments that resulted in deaths of Americans.
All right, Rich Anderson is the Republican Party chairman of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Rich, we appreciate your time. We'll see you as the campaign goes along.
All right. We'll see as it goes. Thank
All
you.
right.